Hello and welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Nina Adio, a social media marketing expert specific to the wedding industry. On this show, I discuss tips to help you DIY your social media, as well as getting the confidence and income to outsource it. Thank you for allowing this episode to come through on your Bluetooth, your car radio, wherever it may be you're listening from today. Now, let's take your wedding business to the next level. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. If you're a returning listener, if it's your first time, thank you so much for coming in. I hope you love it on our side of the podcast verse, if you will. Here, we like to talk about weddings, marketing, events, and kind of weaving them all together, maybe in ways you haven't thought of before. I am recording this intro at the beginning of May, which is a great time of year if you are a seasonal venue, you are getting back into the swing, and it's a great time of year for all vendors because we are getting into those traditionally popular wedding months and starting to get back into the grind. If you are looking to maybe fill some of your summer dates, you're going to want to check out the episode we did last week on the podcast. Last week was episode 89, and it was all about using social media to fill some of your unbooked dates. So if you are listening to this when it comes out, it is May, it is spring. So what does that mean coming up? If you're looking to fill dates, if you do things other than just weddings, now is the time of year to talk about dads and grads, if you will, graduation parties, Father's Day, Mother's Day, baby and bridal showers. Sometimes those are not booked very far in advance. I mean, especially baby showers, because you only have so many months that you know about it. So, those are great events to think about as you're looking to get a shorter booking. But another tactic to getting your calendar booked is not just booking a wedding for a night, but booking a wedding weekend. And in order to talk about that, I really needed to talk to an expert. And boy, she's more than just an expert. I consider Helen a friend. Let me tell you about Helen first, and then I'll tell you why I love Helen. Helen Christopher is the owner of Brookledge. Brookledge is a wedding venue in Saratoga County, but it is so much more. So it is a former girl summer camp turned wedding venue and vacation rental, and they also offer glamping. And Helen explains to us how she's able to take all of these parts and tie it in to offering a unique wedding venue setting as well as doing wedding weekends. So she talks to us about what that entails from both a venue and a lodging perspective. And she talks about what about wedding weekends was so valuable to her couples that it was something that they decided to offer. Whether you are ready for it or not, the Airbnb space is really emerging as an option for couples when seeking out their wedding venue. So, if you're a wedding venue, you're going to want to hear what these venues have to offer that sets them apart from what you're offering and maybe try to find a way to combine them. Maybe you own one of these unconventional properties and you want to tap into the wedding space or the wedding weekend space. And lastly, perhaps you are a wedding vendor and you see this trend emerging and you want to tap into not only being affiliated with these Airbnb style venues, but also with getting bookings that are a weekend long, because then you're just worried about one event per weekend, which can be really fantastic. Helen is also one of several authors featured in Hospitable Hosts Volume 2. It is a best selling book and it is all about the short term rental industry. So if you're looking to get into that Airbnb space, you are going to want to check out the book Hospitable Hosts Volume 2, as well as to see Helen's expertise in there. So I will have the link to Brookledge venue and to Hospitable Hosts down below. But you're also going to want to follow Helen at Brookledge on Instagram because she has a podcast coming out called Wed and Bed. It brings together weddings and short term rentals. So that should be coming out by the end of this month. I'm recording this in May. So I'm at the edge of my seat waiting for that to come out. But to hold you guys over, here is my interview with Helen all about wedding weekends. And I alluded to why I love Helen so much. And let me tell you, the first time we chatted, we just chatted about how at the venue they will have campfires and they will do s'mores variations. And so we all just, she and I just kept talking about different types of s'more. She was recommending Samoas. She was recommending using a Reese's peanut butter cup as the chocolate. And then my idea was to use one of those pecan turtle clusters as the chocolate. So my birthday is coming up in about a week. And I contacted my friends and said, we're doing a s'mores night. So I have Helen to thank for that. Maybe I can get Helen to come out to Long Island to celebrate. But for now, let's get to the interview. Helen, thank you for being here with me today. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Helen and I chatted briefly on a, not briefly, we chatted once before on a Zoom call, and it was, we had
Yeah.
such a good time chatting that I pretty much forgot to send Helen all the podcast notes, all the podcast questions, because I'm like, oh, we're just going to sit and chat. Then I was like, oh no, this is a thing. Like,
Yeah. And we have a mutual love of the 90s and like all the nostalgic type things. So love that.
yes, yes, I had to show Helen I have sometimes as a Zoom background, The Simpsons couch. But maybe we should work in some Say by the Bell or the Full House couch for next time.
Yeah. Full House or even Friends. Central Perk. You can't go
Yes,
wrong with
yes.
that.
That's a
Hmm.
good one. Helen knew I was in New York City with a friend who's from out of state, and she wanted to do all the touristy things, which included the Friends experience, which is so fun. You get to reenact all those moments and get in the apartment. Just love
I
the
would
whole
love that.
concept.
Yeah. Bring my lobster,
Yes,
bring my,
so maybe we'll
yeah.
have to do another episode about nostalgia and weddings. But
Yeah. And
today,
people are probably like, lobster? Because in
yeah,
the episode,
yes,
like,
you're my lobster.
her lobster, the one she loves. Like, I don't have a pet lobster or anything like that.
Yeah, I wish. That would be,
Yeah,
he'd have to be your mascot.
for sure. I actually have a mascot on the property. Yeah,
You
we have one.
do?
I'll tell you about it.
Okay, great. Because when we were chatting last time, what came up was wedding weekends. And
Yes.
I've experienced venues. One of the venues I represent, they really focus on doing one event a weekend. So I thought this would be a really great topic to kind of explore with other people, maybe educate them on if they don't do it or give them some ideas. But before we get into wedding weekends, can you tell us a little bit about your origin story with Brookledge and what is the history of Brookledge as a venue and how you became involved?
Yeah, so we are in upstate New York, just outside of Saratoga Springs, and not that many moons ago, but I was a teacher, and like many teachers, I kind of was looking to do something else. I'd been teaching for 17 years, and we had seen, I think it was on like realtor.com or something like that, this property called Camp Brookledge. And we had attended a wedding there in like 2015. And it wasn't a wedding venue. At that time, it was privately owned, and it was just a place the ladies had that owned it, just used it for like their recreational use. But it had been a summer camp for girls from like the 1950s to 2011. And I just loved the property. I thought it was so cool. I guess it tugs that like nostalgic heart of mine that I have. And
Parents
we
had,
had,
right, being at a
yeah, yeah.
camp.
I mean, who doesn't want to like live at summer camp forever? So
Yeah.
we called right away, and the realtor had said that it was pending. It was actually under contract to become an RV park. For whatever reason, it fell through, and the owners of the property contacted us to let us know, and we bought it. So I currently live in the nurse's office of what was the summer camp, and we have been fixing all of the buildings So we've been here for 2 years now. And since then, we've had weddings, all kinds of different events, but then we also do short term rentals. So, like a family could come and rent a cabin and just stay. We actually have a family staying for the whole week because it's spring break up here. So, they rented a cabin and the kids are just having a blast running around. So, we do weddings, events, and short term rentals here now on the property.
Fantastic. That's sounds like a lot to juggle, but is it all pretty cohesive as you start getting familiar with the bookings and the schedulings and so forth?
Yeah, there was definitely a learning curve. I needed to have, and I'm still kind of learning because it's two businesses in one, really.
Mm.
So you have your events on one side and your short term rental on the other side. So I was trying to use one CRM to run everything, and it's not really working. So I need to have one for the events and one for the short term rental bookings. Especially now we have, there's multiple cabins and glamping tents. So it can get kind of confusing, especially like on a week like this week where it's short term, not short term rentals, spring
Spring
break.
break. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's a high booking week, and it just we need something to simplify for the people who are cleaning, the turning over the cabins. So that's something that I've had to adjust a little bit, but other than that, it's been pretty seamless. I mean, we have our little hiccups here and there, like every business
Of
does, but
course, and that's how
yeah.
you learn,
Hmm.
especially managing two different types of turnovers.
Yeah.
Well, I want you to describe how you define a wedding weekend and what that entails from a venue and a lodging perspective.
So for me, a wedding weekend is you have 2 nights that you would have the venue. The first night you would have your rehearsal dinner. And because we're summer camp, you have to have s'mores and a campfire with
Oh,
your
there you
friends.
go.
Yeah. And you're staying on site. So for me, for a wedding weekend, you have to have lodging right on the property so that you can stay there. Saturday morning, you're going to wake up, have breakfast by the pond, super relaxed. And the great thing is, if any of you remember your wedding day, there's always that girl that's running late from your bridal party, right? So the nice thing is they're here on site, so you're not having to wait for anybody. So the makeup artist and the hair stylist love that they're not having to wait. The girls are
You have a
there.
captive audience. They're all there.
Yes, yes, they're there. Everything's there. You're not having to run back for things, so that makes life easier. Once they're getting ready, you have your wedding ceremony. We have 2 different locations that you can get married at, and then you have your reception. We have 2 different spaces as well for the reception area. Once your wedding is done, you're really not done though. So your people leave, but your close friends and family and your bridal party, they're still there, so you can continue. You can have the wedding food leftovers. You can have another campfire. We've had some couples, they do like scavenger hunt games and different types of fun things the day before. And then Sunday morning, you're just kind of wrapping things up, enjoying that coffee now as Mr. and Mrs. Um, and it's just kind of nice that way. So it allows for relaxation. You don't just have everything stuck in like 5, 6 hour time block. You have 2 full days. You have 2 days. So a lot of times you'll hear people like, "Oh my goodness, it went by so fast." This kind of helps with that a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like from a guest perspective, it really creates that bond between everybody there because you're all kind of on this really awesome trip together. And two things that really stuck out for me based on what you were saying for people who are part of other venues. First off, if you are, let's say, a venue and you don't have lodging, you
Hmm.
still can maybe you have a sister facility or another, could be an Airbnb service, could be a
Yep.
short-term rental service nearby. One of the clients I represent, they're a venue that does weekend weddings, but they collaborate with short-term rental properties and inns to make the wedding weekend happen. So people
Yes.
still be nearby, and maybe then you add in a bus company too, you know?
Yeah, and I'm going to give you a hot tip here.
Yeah.
So, their glamping tents have become a big thing, and there are
Mm.
companies in areas that will set up glamping tents with the furnishings, and like linens and everything right on site for you. So, if you are, let's say, like a barn venue and you have like a field space, you could contact one of these companies. For us, it's called Glamp ADK, is one of the ones here where we are, and they will come bring the bed like big bell tents for you, and you can sleep anywhere from like 2 to 6 people depending on the size. And you will come and set that right up, and you can work with the company to do that, and then you include it in your package.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
helps people fill in the blanks of possibility of what they can
Absolutely.
do, which
Yeah.
also made me think of how this benefits other vendors. When you were saying the rundown of events, I just kept thinking of the invitation and stationery company and all of the cute the cute things they could make with the itinerary that goes with the welcome bag. It really can benefit all vendors to get a part of this type of collaboration, because there are so many different ways that also could be a lot easier. I mean, from, let's say,
Hmm.
the transportation end, you just have to do the drop off and pick up at the start and end of the weekend. Now you
Yeah,
get to leave the
absolutely.
house.
And how many times have you gone to a wedding where there's like a 2 hour chunk of time between the ceremony and then when the cocktail hour starts because you have to build in that
Mhm.
transportation time? You don't have any of that. Like you have people now, you finish the ceremony, they've got their drink in their hand, they're walking the nature trail, sitting by the pond. They might see our mascot, which is Fred the squirrel, and they're just kind of hanging out and enjoying it. So it takes away the stress of having to transport, having to do multiple locations. Everything is there. All of your vendors are there hanging out and spending time as well. And the vibe is just so different. I hear a lot of times venues will talk about like the bridezillas and the groomzillas. I don't have that. Like my couples are amazing. They are coming to relax and have fun. A lot of them will change out of their wedding attire and put on like, you know, fun, cozy clothes.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the couple that's gonna come with like the custom flannel.
That's what I
So
was wondering, if there's like a
yes,
bride jumpsuit they switch into, or
yes, but have like a white kind of flannel that
yeah,
with their names on the back. Like how cute would that be? It's
yes.
gonna happen.
Mhm.
I feel it. It's gonna become a new trend. And actually, summer camp weddings are a new trend right now.
So yes, yes.
Yeah.
And at what point did you realize that, rather than booking traditionally,
Hmm.
one doing Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday day, when did you realize that offering a weekend package was not only something couples would want, but something that met a need for you as the venue perspective?
Yeah, well, it is a new trend right now coming that couples they want more. They don't want just 6 hours, they want a full weekend. But the other thing that's a nice piece for the venue, it's less wear and tear on our property. So instead of having three weddings or having all these cars driving in and out, all the different people using, the bathrooms and all of
Mhm.
that space. So it's less wear and tear on the property. You're also creating a scarcity kind of setup in the sense that a couple knows you only have so many weekends. And being in upstate New York, that shortens as well because our venue is
Mm.
outside. And because of that, they are willing to pay a little bit more, knowing that they're going to have your undivided attention for the entire weekend. There's not going to be a rush. Like they know they're not going to be rushed to get out because there's another wedding the next day. And also, it's helpful for the staff. You're not having as many turnovers. So when you're talking about all those cabins and the property itself, the acres, the Brookledge is 60 acres. So when you have that turnover, it would cost me more money to have all the staff come and clean and get things ready than it would be to just do one weekend. So for me, it's more cost effective. It makes my life more enjoyable. I mean, let's be honest. One focusing on one couple, it's going to be less stressful, and it's also great for the couple. So in my mind, it's a win-win for the type of life I want to have and the type of business I want to be able to provide for my couples.
I love it. I mean, and I get exhausted imagining you doing turnovers of reception spaces, cabins across 60 acres, like daily
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, and luckily most of the stuff is within, 15, 20 acres, but we still have to walk the trails to make sure that, someone didn't leave a cup because they were walking and just,
Yeah.
so we take it very seriously in that we want to make sure that this is a beautiful, serene place. So it takes a little while to turn things over. And I want to be able to enjoy, my family and that type of thing. And I want my staff as well. So we do wedding weekends if somebody really wants just the day. If they really want that, we try to give them to do that on like a Sunday brunch type thing, something smaller. But if you're looking to have like a humongous 200-person wedding on one day, we're going to really encourage you to do the weekend because you're not, a lot of times the couples will say, oh, but it's more. Yes, but have your guests pay for the lodging. It ends up being the
Mhm.
same price.
Yeah.
So, and then once I tell them that, they're like, oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Like they would have paid for a hotel room anyways.
Right,
Have
exactly.
them pay for the cottage or the glamping tent.
Now, a lot of people don't kind of understand this idea. We know that in general, less is more, but with weddings, typically more is more, and that's
Mm-hmm.
especially with bookings. And that one venue I mentioned that I represent, when I mention the wedding weekends, I'll get messages from people in the industry saying you shouldn't say that because then you can't book more weddings, and they're not getting that that's the idea. That part of the sale for this venue is that exclusivity that they have access to it for the entire weekend. So I was hoping maybe you could explain to those who don't understand how less weddings could equal more for a venue and really for your profit too.
Yeah, and well, and it's kind of like when you think of like those high-end brands where it's hard to get like that special bag because it's a
Mhm.
limited edition. It's the same idea. We are a limited edition venue, so we can only do weddings certain times of the year because of the snow, and it snows here, Nina. It snows here. So, actually, just 3 weeks ago, we had over 2 feet of snow in
Wow.
one sitting. Yeah. So, our weekends are limited, and when you have just, let's say you want that August wedding, you have 4 weekends. That's it. So that means I can charge a little bit more for those weekends than I would if I were to do like a Friday and a Saturday night.
Mhm.
I'm also saving money on my staff because I only have to do one turnover.
Mhm.
So to do all of those cabins, all of that property, if I were to do 2 weekends or two weddings that weekend, and if I were to have to take out like the cost of my staffing, it wouldn't be worth it for me. Now, for me, we're a smaller
Right.
venue and we offer other things here. So we are also like we have field trips here in May. We have corporate retreats. We have big festivals that the companies will rent the whole place and do like a big fall festival. So we have other things that are going on. So we're not just a wedding venue. So I think it might be different if you're only doing weddings and you have people who that's all they do are weddings. It might be different, but I also like rent out to like a family who's enjoying this space and they're sitting in a canoe right now as we speak. So it's different. I have other avenues that I can make up for that,
Right.
like a field trip on a Wednesday in the middle of the day.
Right, which, for someone in a traditional venue, you would compare that to your corporate business, your school awards dinners, your
Yes, the
your
banquets, all the
fundraisers. Those are the things that hold you through during the week. So you
yeah,
still have that. It just maybe looks a little different than what a venue that's operating traditionally may offer. A venue that
exactly.
doesn't have cabins.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. So it might be different for somebody that it is a wedding venue that they don't have those other pieces, and so their only source of income are weddings. But even that, I think if you offered the full weekend and you increased your price, I think you would be surprised to see that life may not be for me the quality of my life and what I'm looking to
Mhm.
do is just as valuable as the extra money. My husband would say focus on the money, but that's something different. But we we find that the full weekend we do end up making more money, and most couples
Mhm.
want the Saturday. Not
Yeah.
that many want the Friday.
Hmm.
So if you spread it out and charge a little bit more, ends
Yeah.
up kind of coming out the same, I think, by the end of the year. But I could be wrong. I'm sure there's somebody right now saying no, no, no.
I really think it's all about what people are willing to pay. And I think if you don't test it, you're not going to find out. Because I'm even just imagining for a traditional venue, if they were to offer that you have access to this reception room, the evening before for your rehearsal, we'll set you up with the local, whether it's a hotel or inn, the transportation, and then you have it the entire next day. I think
Yeah,
it is very plausible that they could charge what would end up being more than if they did a Friday wedding and a Saturday wedding.
100%. I
So I'm
agree.
excited to see if people play around with that. And look, just offer it, test it out, see what sort of feedback you get. But especially if you notice the couple is saying their family's from out of town, then that could be a great indicator that, all right, they may be someone who wants to do this.
Or maybe just offer a handful of wedding weekends and your more
Hmm.
popular weekends that you know are going to book, triple headers or two weddings. Save those for those days. But if you know like your October or your outlier weekends,
Yeah.
offer those as your wedding weekends.
Especially when it can be harder to have more staff, on those 4th of
Hmm.
July weekends, it's hard to get your staff, so
True,
maybe by
true, yeah.
doing that on those dates, there's some benefits there. And I'm wondering if there are other benefits we haven't thought of the weekend wedding that we may not be realizing.
Yeah, I'm sure. And as this is a newer trend coming, I think we will discover more of the pros and cons of
Mm.
it as we go forward.
How can venues and wedding pros work the wedding weekend package because this is newer into their
Mhm.
social media marketing or website or even in your package presentations?
Yeah, so we've been highlighting a lot of the before and afters the wedding.
Mhm.
So a lot of the couples will see like, the actual ceremony and the reception part, but they're not seeing the friends, doing the scavenger hunt and having some drinks by the campfire or the Sunday breakfast that's, in the woods with the long table,
Mm.
enjoying that peace and quiet. So we've been incorporating more of those types of things into our packages. And when we're doing the reels, we make sure to start with that, Friday night fun, do the wedding stuff, and then show the relaxation piece. So that's the part I would make sure to highlight is those unique qualities that you wouldn't normally see in a wedding venue.
Terrific. Now, speaking of your reels, Brookledge did something really
Oh.
cool that I really love that I would love for you to tell everybody else because somehow Brookledge pulled off a surprise wedding.
Well, and not just like most people think it's a surprise that the guests didn't know. No, no, the
Yeah.
couple didn't know.
The couple didn't know.
And then they're like, "What do you mean?" So Kendra and her husband Joe, that one like such a wonderful couple. So they got married during COVID. During COVID, we all remember you couldn't have the large wedding, so they ended up just doing a small wedding, just them and like a few of their family members, and so they didn't get to do all the bells and whistles that they wanted to originally do. So in goodness, I think it was like November, October, I wanted to do a wedding photo shoot, which is great for people who wanted to showcase different parts of the property that may not have been showcased. So I was looking for a couple, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, my niece Kendra might be a great option." So I started learning about the story, and she said, "What would you be okay if like a few of us came after the
Oh,
photo shoot and did like a little dinner?" And that turned into a full wedding. So we end up having flowers, a bridal studio, Danielle's Bridal and Mr. Formal Wear. They both donated all the
wow.
clothing they wore. We had a wedding cake. We had full catering, everything that you would have for a wedding. So they were taking their pictures, and while they were on the property taking pictures, they were doing a photo shoot. The wedding was being set up inside. So we
Wow.
were sneaking their guests in. And then when we said, okay, it's time to go take pictures in the lodge, they walked in and there there were all their family and friends and all their loved ones were there inside. And they were very surprised. There were some
I
tears,
was
there
going
was
to
some
ask how many
laughter.
tears were happening.
Yes, yes. And the funny thing is, we had all the family members kind of hiding in the corner. They walked like halfway into the lodge before they even realized that anybody else was in there. It was
Wow.
hysterical. So it was an amazing moment, and I'm so happy that we got to do it. I don't know if we would do it often because it was a lot of. I mean, we told all the family members you have 15 minutes. If you're late, you can't come to the
Mhm.
wedding because it just took that one person
Yeah.
that wasn't what it needed to be, and then the surprise was done. But yeah, it was amazing. It's an experience I will always remember, and one of those like lifetime moments
Yeah.
that we got to have as our business.
Really cool. And that's something that it requires a very specific situation to be able to capture it. So it was like everything
Exactly.
kind of came together for just the perfect opportunity to make it
Yeah.
happen.
And it had to be the right kind of couple that would feel comfortable with that. And
Mhm.
having met them, I knew that they would be okay with it. And they were just so appreciative and so kind. And I'm just so happy I got to be part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great to see how How you give back, and I can just tell that your love for the venue as well as the people who want to celebrate or spend time in it. It's really nice to watch.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So another part of your venue, as you've mentioned, is the lodging and the short-term rentals. And you are one of the authors in Hospitable Hosts Volume 2. So
Yes.
can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes. So I had the amazing opportunity to work with 44. There's 44 total. We call ourselves hosts in the book from around the world. And we highlight the unique things of our property, how we entered or became short term rental hosts. And everyone's so different. Me going through the summer camp route, some chose completely different other avenues. So we highlight our stories. And do you remember? Goodness, we're going back to the '90s again. Do you remember the series Chicken Soup for the Soul?
Yes.
And do you remember how it was broken up into like little stories?
Mm-hmm.
This is the same way. So you have 40 little stories within the book, and everyone is different. What's nice about it is it highlights how they got into the business, and then some of them showcase like their most memorable guests, good or bad. So I highlight my favorite guests, and it involved a lot of tears and hugs. It was amazing, but it's a great book. It's on Amazon, and it just came out a few weeks ago, and it's already number one. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and I will definitely link that in the show notes. This book is a really, really big deal in the, as you say, the short-term rental space and Airbnbs.
Hmm.
But I think from a hospitality standpoint, all of us who are involved with customer service, weddings, hospitality are going to be able to get a lot from it. And it's really big deal. You get to be one of the just 44. When you think of how many great
Yeah,
hosts there are out there.
yeah, and the hosts are from all over the world, which was really nice. We got a chance to meet each other at the book launch, and there were people from the UK, from Australia. Like it was great to get to see them all because a lot of the stuff we were doing was over Zoom. So when we all got together, it
Mhm.
was really nice to see each other in person.
Yeah. So now I have some rapid fire questions.
All right, bring it on. I'm
Yeah, all
ready.
right. So the last book I read was,
It was, it's not that, I mean, okay, it's Clockwork by Mike McAllowitz. And it's actually like for me figuring out ways I can save some time and
hmm?
make like my business a little more efficient.
Yeah.
So I'm halfway through the book right now. I had a chance to meet him at Nashville, and he was great.
Oh, great, great. And I
Hmm.
love that you're always learning.
Yeah, yeah, it's an older book, so it's not like brand new, but tons of valuable information.
Great.
Mhm.
Cocktail hour or dessert bar?
Dessert bar
Oh,
100%.
you're gonna say for the s'mores. I knew it.
The s'mores, I'm a major cookie girl, so anytime I do like s'mores, I always try different cookies with the
Oh,
s'mores.
that's so smart. I never
Yep.
thought of that. What
Yep.
have you found
So,
the best combo to be?
Girl Scouts, Samoa cookie. Yep. Right.
You
Because they
get my, you
already
guys can't see it, my jaw dropped.
because they already have chocolate on the inside, and then you do the marshmallow. Yep.
Efficient
Hmm.
too. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
So that one
Okay.
I loved. I have done it too with a sugar cookie with peanut butter cups instead of regular Hershey's like chocolate. Do the peanut
Wow.
butter cup with the marshmallow.
This needs
Yeah,
to be its own event.
oh yeah. I mean s'mores. There are so many different combinations that you can do. There's another one where it's like the thin mint, where it's the graham crackers with the Andes mints, or like a peppermint patty with the
Wow.
marshmallow. Yeah. I mean,
Potential.
when we do s'mores here, it's we go all out.
All
All out.
right.
Yeah.
The best weddings have.
Um, the best weddings have personal touches from the couple. So something that's, great to them. I have this year a wedding coming. I'm so excited. Has a Jurassic Park theme.
Oh,
Like that's gonna be
stop.
amazing. It's gonna be
Stop.
amazing. So those weddings are the ones you remember that they have their special little thing that they do.
Oh my gosh.
And I love those weddings.
Gotta sneak me an invite.
You got it. You got it.
Don't go camping without
S'mores.
s'mores. Yeah.
100%. Besides that, I would say a really good blanket
Mm.
because there's just something about sitting by the campfire and then your back always gets chilly because the front is facing the fire. So having that warm blanket, I love that.
Smart, smart.
Yeah.
The last podcast I binged was.
Okay, so I've been binging too, and it's funny because my business is two different things, and my podcasts are two different things. So the first one is Thanks for Visiting, and it's all about the hospitality world and people who are short-term rental hosts, and they're really big on how to be hospitable, like how to look out for your guests. The other one is the Venue RX, which I know you and I have talked
Mhm.
about. I've been on his podcast and I love his podcast. He always has amazing information, and I love that he showcases venue owners. I just love
Yes.
to hear what they're doing. Yeah, so those are the two that I'm always watching, or not watching, but listening to. And
I
the Venue RX I do watch on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't realize you're on
Yeah,
YouTube too.
yeah,
Oh, I'll have to
yeah.
do that. I added this one while we were chatting. This is the last one. Your favorite
Okay.
90s camp movie. Because I feel like there's
Oh,
like a few.
okay. I know right away which one it is. I'm blanking the name, but you might remember it. It's the Girl Scouts Beverly Hills.
Oh,
Um,
Troop Beverly Hills?
Troop Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and you know
Love
who's in
them.
that? Tori Spelling.
Is she really?
Yes.
She one of the kids?
Yes.
I remember the main character. She had red hair.
Kelly Long.
Yes. Yes. Love that. So that would
Now I
be.
have to. Yes, Tori Spelling is indeed. I had to Google check myself, but she is. And before we were recording, Helen and I were talking about Tori Spelling because she was one of the '90s celebs I wanted to meet at '90s Con. So Helen was not joking when she said we share a love of
We
'90s.
do. I love all the 90s
Yeah,
stuff. I love
there's
it.
like Camp Nowhere. I mean, Adam's
Hmm.
Family Values. They're at camp. Parent Trap.
There's another one. What about Bob?
What
It's
about?
not necessarily summer camp, but it's like
Mhm.
they go
Yes,
to
or
they're
this one might be more obscure for people, but Beethoven's Second. They go to like a camp, like a house in like the woods upstate, and it's fantastic.
Someone
But
did say, I have had a couple guests tell me that one of the original cabins that's on the property looks just like Patrick Swayze's camp in Dirty Dancing, just different
oh
color.
my God. Well,
Yep.
that's a whole vibe. So
I know. And that's the last cabin we haven't redone anything with it yet. It's still there. So maybe we gotta go like a Dirty Dancing theme with that one.
yeah, maybe put like a record player in with some of like
Mm-hmm.
the records he would listen to with Baby. Oh my gosh. Well, this was so fun. Where can our audience find you and how can they work with you? Or how can they just message you about 90s movies? Because they might
Yes.
want to do that.
Yes. So Brookledge NY, so NY for New York. That's our social media handle. If you want to go on our Instagram, you will see the surprise wedding. So that's there. It's
Mhm.
two parts. Um, it's it's a tearjerker. So I'm on Instagram quite a bit as far as the connecting with people. So feel free to message me through that. It's also our website, so Brookledge NY.
Yeah, yeah.
If you
Helen's
want
really
to,
great on there.
we're actually redoing our website at the moment, because when we originally started the property, it focused more on the short-term rentals. So there's not a lot of wedding information on there. So we're in the process of redoing that and kind of highlighting our weddings that we have.
Yeah, which is great to even kind of hop on the website now, see where it's starting at, and then
Yeah.
follow along the before and after and kind of go through that really exciting process of
Yeah, you can be the
redoing the
OGs.
website. Yeah, exactly. And get ready to see more of, is it just Fred or Freddie the squirrel?
Fred the squirrel. He's a red squirrel, and we actually just updated our logo. That's going to be coming out soon, and he's part of the logo. So
So you
that'll be
gotta follow
great.
along, see Fred. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Helen. I will have all your information in the show notes below for everybody
Yes.
to see.
And Nina, I have to add one more
Yeah.
thing. We actually are going to be starting a podcast,
Oh,
talking about short-term rentals and weddings and how to bring them together. There's a lot of people who might have a great house they put on Airbnb, and somebody might want to do like a micro wedding. Like maybe you don't want to do a 200-person wedding, but you might want to do like a 20, 30-person wedding at your place. So we will be starting, myself and another host. Her name's Ruby, and she's in Texas. So we have very different kind of demographics, which is great. And we will be kind of helping couples that are looking for this type of a wedding set up, but then also people who want to have them at their own place.
This is so great because I see in the bridal groups all the time brides asking for this or
Hmm.
trying to explore it as an option, and they cannot find the short-term rentals that are going to help them to do it. So you're
Yeah.
really bringing together the need. There's a need for this, and you're going to help a lot of not only brides and grooms and couples find a place, but you're going to help places who don't realize they can do this to
Yes.
tap into this market. So
Yes,
follow
absolutely.
you at Brookledge, New York. Will that be announced when it's live?
It will be, yes. I mean, we're just starting it, so we don't have the exact launch date. But yeah, follow us on, and no one knows about this yet. You're the first person to hear about it.
Inside, we
Yeah,
got the scoop. We got
that's
the
right. Yep, the
scoop.
inside details. So
Good.
yeah, so that will be all the information will be on Brookledge NY. We're still
Great.
finishing, figuring out the name of the podcast, but we've got it narrowed down.
Great. So everybody make sure you're following them so you can get on top of this trend because I really think Helen is right when she says this is going to be a rising trend. And if you can find a way to get your wedding venue or service to tap into this, you're going to be in a good position.
100%. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So there was a lot of fun discussed there. The surprise wedding was probably the greatest of all. I love how they pulled that off. So if you want to see some clips to that, head over to their Instagram and you will see clips from that amazing surprise wedding. And as I mentioned, I'm going to have Instagram for Brookledge linked down below. I will also have Hospitable Hosts linked down below. And when Helen's podcast is ready to go, I will update that. It's going to be Wed and Bed. So be sure to look out for that. If you would like to support this podcast, you can check out the resources tab over at idoweddingmarketing.com. The resources tab features programs and systems and available resources from other wedding industry experts who I work with and whose products I recommend. So, right now, available, we have the Revenue on Demand workshop from Evolve Your Wedding Business, designed specifically for people who want to generate revenue on demand, even in the slow season. We have the Your Real Weddings Photo Club from Carissa Cruzy Weddings, where you will get 100 real royalty free wedding photos to use in your marketing each month. And there is also the Weddingpreneurs Content Club, where you receive social media directives, templates, and tips to your inbox each month. So head on over to idoweddingmarketing.com and visit the resources tab to support this podcast. Thank you for listening, guys, and I will see you next week.